Leave me your opinion in the comments.
That's just how it works in real life. The good. If you're a fan of James Gunn's style, this show is tailor-made for you. It's packed with violence, quirky characters, hilarious situations, and surprisingly deep backstories that add layers to the cast. It's classic Gunn, no doubt about it. For me, starting the DCU with this series was a misstep. It would have made way more sense to release it after Superman Legacy. Imagine seeing a trailer in theaters. HBO Max continues the DCU with Creature Commandos, an adults-only series. That would have hit differently, letting people decide if they're interested in it. Like with Ms. Marvel or Moon Knight. That said, the show is entertaining. I'd give it a 7 out of 10, fun, but not very original. After seeing this formula repeated in 4 similar projects, it's starting to wear thin for me. What do you think? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you're curious about the last bits of the old DC era, check out my thoughts on the finale of Superman and Lois over here. Get ready to dive into one of the most fascinating characters in Creature Commandos. The Bride isn't just a nod to classic horror. Her backstory will leave you thinking, wait, what just happened? Let's break down her origin, her personality, and why she might end up being a fan favorite. The origin. The Bride comes to life thanks to Frankenstein's monster, who insists on having a companion. At first, Dr. Frankenstein is reluctant. He has his doubts. But eventually, he gives in to his creation's request. However, from the very start, we see how the monster tries to force a relationship with her. She didn't even know he existed, and when she finally meets him, she's terrified. Over time, Dr. Frankenstein teaches her, takes care of her, and forms a bond with her. But then, the unthinkable happens, and I was like, no way. He's not going to do it. Is he? But then it happens. They end up having a relationship. Yes, that kind of relationship. And all of this happens in front of Frankenstein's monster. Naturally, the monster goes insane, murders the doctor, and spends decades chasing the bride. Of course, she hates him for killing her lover and has been running from him ever since. Honestly, it's wild. At first I thought, okay, she probably sees him as a father figure or something. And then, boom! James Gunn hits us with his signature humor and flips everything on its head. It's cruel if you think about it. Like, the bride was made for the monster. If you wanted another companion, just make a new one. Why torment the guy like that? It's messed up, but it's also kind of hilarious. Her personality. What I love about the bride is how much her character evolves. In her origin story, she starts out naive, kind of like the protagonist from Poor Things. But here, she's a total badass. She breaks the rules, doesn't care about anything, and is incredibly violent. She's also highly skilled in combat. I'd say her strength surpasses that of a regular human, but I wouldn't classify it as outright superhuman strength. Her uniqueness lies more in being, well, like a zombie. Someone who can't die. At least, not naturally. Her aggression is one of the coolest things about her. For example, she absolutely beats down Cersei until her magic finally gets the upper hand. The Bride is such a fun, interesting character with so much potential. What do you all think? Let me know in the comments. And don't forget to check out my full review of Creature Commandos. See you next time. Hey guys, welcome back to a brand new episode breakdown of Creature Commandos. The backstories they're weaving into the main action are seamless. It didn't feel disruptive at all. It's like each character's journey just clicks into place naturally. Sure, I get that not everyone's going to care about these character backgrounds, but personally, I think it's fascinating. Let's dive in. Episode 3. Wow, what a chapter! This time, we got a deep dive into G.I. Robot. We learned about his origins, how and why he was created, and his time with the squad he was designed to lead into battle. He was literally built to destroy enemies. Over the years, attempts were made to commercialize him, but his core programming made it impossible for him to socialize or adapt to civilian life. Fast forward 20 years, and a scientist used G.I. Robot as a prototype for developing better synthetics. At one point, he even became part of a private collection. Though, in a cruel twist, his programming kicked in, and the collector became a target. That landed G.I. Robot in prison, where he stayed until Amanda Waller recruited him for the team. One interesting detail? The scientist who worked on him didn't reprogram him, but instead trusted he'd evolve intelligence and autonomy. However, G.I. Robot never truly developed free will, just a basic personality, while still being bound by his core directive, the soul. To be honest, G.I. Robot wasn't exactly a fan-favorite character for me. He wasn't the kind of figure you'd get emotionally attached to, but he was likable in his own way. His interactions, especially with Guillermo del Toro's character, were sweet and entertaining. For me, he added charm to the show without ever feeling too human, which worked for his role. Spoiler alert. Something super unexpected happened in this episode. Cersei killed G.I. Robot. During an ambush on the castle, while attacking the princess, Cersei delivered the fatal blow to him. And then, in a dramatic moment, she shouted that they had doomed the world. So, what's going on here? Is the princess secretly evil? This was such a fun episode, packed with violence, true R-rated content, and the kind of unexpected twists that keep you on edge. A team member actually died. I didn't see that coming. Sure, G.I. Robot might have been the most dispensable member of the group, but this moment showed us that with James Gunn at the helm, no one is safe. Overall, I'd rate this episode an 8 out of 10. Definitely worth the watch. Make sure to check out my other videos on Creature Commandos for more deep dives. Until next time, James Gunn broke my heart. What he did with this character was pure cinema. Hey everyone! Today we're diving into the latest episode of Creature Commandos. Yeah, I know. This series is still a thing, even though all you can think about is Superman, Superman, Superman. But let me tell you, this episode? Absolute genius. There's been a lot of buzz about how Weasel managed to take down Cersei, a villain who gives Wonder Woman a serious fight. Gunn's explanation? Not the most convincing. Something about Cersei not being able to cast spells quickly with her hands? Okay, sure. But then, the team heads back to the US, where Cersei reveals something major. Just like I mentioned in my last video, Princess Ilana is on the path to becoming a villain. And wow, she's set to turn the world upside down. Not only does she dominate, but she also takes down every other villain. The twist is wild, and honestly, a little strange. Like, how is she stronger than everyone else? But you know what? It was a blast to watch. This episode is such a roller coaster of fun and emotion. Frankenstein attacking Rick Flag over the bride? hilarious. Gunn's writing really shines here. He's taken a character we're supposed to hate, and, within minutes, makes us root for him like he's the lovable underdog. And Weasel? What James Gunn did with the most underrated character ever is nothing short of magic. He has this insane ability to take these obscure, even absurd characters and make us care deeply about them. Honestly, my heart broke. There's no better way to describe it. That mix of anxiety and helplessness as misunderstandings spiral out of control, leading to the death of those kids. Wow. And then everyone blames Weasel just because he's different. Or, well, a man-beast, or whatever he is. It's devastating and so intense. If Superman Legacy captures even a fraction of what this series delivers, we're in for an incredible movie. James Gunn has clearly mastered the art of making us fall in love with unlikely heroes and strange, overlooked characters. He truly has the Midas touch when he puts his heart into something. I'll leave you with my thoughts on the Superman Legacy trailer. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. See you next time. What's up, guys? We've got a brand new episode of Creature Commandos to celebrate my birthday. What a time to be a superhero fan, right? It's been way too long since I did a review that covers both DC and Marvel at the same time. This is how it should always be. All right, guys. This episode focuses on the most infamous character of them all, Frankenstein. I honestly don't know how such a miserable being can be so likable. Oh wait, yes, I do. It's because of James Gunn's brilliant way of turning this repulsive character into someone innocent and goofy, well, when he's not being a simp for the bride. Speaking of the team, the real threats in this episode are the bride and Dr. Phosphorus. Honestly, Phosphorus is even more lethal and cynical, especially with his brutal action scenes. By the way, poor WhatsApp, we're gonna miss you. In the context of Frankenstein, we see an old lady take him in and heal his wounds. In a mercy-driven act, he ends up killing her, so she won't be left alone. But here's the twist. Everything is a trap, set up by someone who's way stronger than Circe. This person orchestrates the plot to kill the princess. And I'm betting by the end of the season, we'll know who this villain really is. So why is it so important to kill this little princess? On another note, who tricked Amanda Waller? It was Clayface, who has an epic showdown with Frankenstein and Flag Sr. By the way, they pull off a Bane move on Flag with that back-breaking punch that, apparently, kills Rick Flag. And that's the biggest cliffhanger of the episode. But, hey, both Flags are doomed. Don't forget, he has a cameo in Superman. So, yeah, things are getting weird. Honestly, this episode flew by. The only thing that bugged me a little is that sometimes the comedy feels a bit flat, like it falls into that easy, dumb humor trap. But it's still a solid show, so I'm giving it a 9 out of 10. I've also got a video about the Weasel episode that'll absolutely break your heart. Check it out. Hey everyone, we've got a brand new episode of Creature Commandos, and trust me, it's absolutely insane. But let's be real for a second. It's kind of bittersweet that a literal 1-second silhouette, yes, just one frame, managed to overshadow the entire episode. But come on, it's Batman. And Gunn's right, he's one of the most iconic superheroes ever, alongside Spider-Man and Superman. In this episode, we dive into the origin story of Dr. Phosphorus, a character whose only goal was to find a cure for cancer to save his father and his wife's mother. Tragically, his path crosses with Rupert Thorne and his mafia, who, by the way, we won't be seeing again in this DCU. Thorne's involvement leads to Phosphorus's catastrophic transformation. What's fascinating is how this character perfectly embodies the trope of tragedy, turning someone into a crazed villain. Despite his heartbreak and seeking vengeance, he spirals into greed, destruction, ambition, and the desire to become Gotham's new kingpin. And then, boom, the internet breaks with that single frame of Batman. If you ask me, the best course for Dr. Phosphorus is for him to die in the series. He's way too lethal, and honestly, I can't even wrap my head around his powers. One moment, he can incinerate everything in his path. The next, he's carefully holding a little girl. Does he decide when to burn someone or not? Sure, it works in animation, but imagining this in live action feels absurd. For the sake of the DCU's future and maintaining logical consistency, I think it's best to let him go. On another note, the bride gets some spotlight alongside Nina Mazursky, a character straight out of a Guillermo del Toro movie. The story unfolds in a brothel, showing the human side of these characters, even Weasel, who mistakes Princess Ilana for the little girl he tragically lost in an accident. The series does a fantastic job highlighting that every monster has a backstory, a deeper layer to their seemingly chaotic existence. Whether it's the most theatrical or insignificant character, Gunn's storytelling expertise shines through. Now, the war between the Kingdom of Pokalistan and the monsters is set to escalate in the next episode, leaving no room for mercy. The only glimmer of hope is Frankenstein sharing everything with Rick Flag and revealing their findings about Clayface. Maybe this could persuade the monsters to abandon their mission, but honestly, with Frankenstein's obsession and Gunn's unrelenting narrative style, it doesn't seem likely. This episode, 7 out of 10. Will this be the end of Princess Ilana? Or will she transform into the terrifying villain Cersei envisioned? Don't forget to check out my video on the previous episode, and I'll see you next time. Guys, Creature Commandos has officially wrapped up. And let me tell you, it's been a wild ride. I've reviewed every single episode, so if you're into detailed breakdowns, you can check those out on my channel. But today, we're going big. We're diving into the full series analysis, the good, the bad, and what this means for the future of the DC Universe. Let's jump in. One of the first things worth pointing out is that, no matter what people say, this show is definitely a continuation of James Gunn's DC Universe, or the Jamesverse, if you will. That means everything from the Suicide Squad to Peacemaker is canon. For example, Rick Flag's death still matters, and the entire premise of Creature Commandos ties directly to the ending of Peacemaker. If you remember, in Peacemaker, Amanda Waller's daughter exposed her for running those shady Suicide Squad operations. Now, Waller is forced to find alternative ways to get things done, and that's where these monsters come into play. This series also starts to show how interconnected DC's universe really is. But here's the thing. If you didn't watch Peacemaker, or you missed that key moment, you might not fully understand why Creature Commandos even exists. James Gunn pulls it off again, though. He's become an expert at taking obscure characters and making us care about them. Personally, I found the series to be fun and entertaining. That said, it still feels like just another animated show, similar to the Harley Quinn animated series, or even last year's Suicide Squad Isekai. Yes, it's connected to the larger universe, but if you skip it, you won't feel like you missed anything major. Now, why is Gunn so good at handling these lesser-known teams? It's simple. He respects the characters and gives them depth. Take Weasel, for example. In the comics, he's this throwaway villain nobody cares about. But here, Gunn gives him a more human side, and that same care extends to every character. Of course, Gunn isn't perfect. Sometimes, he leans too hard into making characters outright ridiculous, and that's where the series stumbles for me. Still, I'd give Creature Commandos a solid 9 out of 10. It's an impressive start for James Gunn's new DC era. Now, all eyes are on him to see if he can deliver with Superman. I've got episode-by-episode reviews of the entire series and more videos related to Superman right here on the channel. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and let me know your thoughts in the comments. See you next time. You won't believe how Creature Commandos ended. James Gunn just broke our hearts again. Hey guys, we've got the brand new episode and season finale of Creature Commandos. And let me tell you, it's been an absolute roller coaster. This episode was insane, heart-wrenching, and somehow James Gunn managed to deliver another masterpiece. Honestly, for a moment, I completely forgot that some members of the team were even capable of dying. All right, let's dive in. You can't really analyze this finale without addressing the biggest spoiler of all: Nina's death. James Gunn gives us her tragic backstory, her struggles from birth, the bullying she endured because of her appearance, and her eventual transformation into what I'd call a metahuman. It even felt like a subtle critique of law enforcement, as Gunn portrays them making the situation worse instead of helping. But here's the kicker, the ultimate plot twist. Nina really was crazy. She wanted to destroy the world, and alongside Clayface, she tricked Rick Flag and Amanda Waller into thinking she was on their side. The ending was perfection. The bride taking her out, not to save the world, but to avenge her friend. Her tears in that moment? Absolutely heartbreaking. As for the rest of the team, Dr. Phosphorus is still struggling with his powers. His logic issues are, well, passable in animation. And Weasel is basically just a big, goofy dog at this point. Villain or not, the series finale also gave us some surprises. The new team lineup, King Shark's cameo, and the return of G.I. Robot, which brought back a bit of joy after such an emotional ending. And that post-credit scene, even though it doesn't connect directly to the DCU, seeing Frankenstein turn on the poor old lady who saved him was dark, but weirdly fitting. This finale? A solid 10 out of 10. Emotional, thrilling, and so very James Gunn. Don't miss my breakdown of the previous episode, and as always, I'll catch you in the next one. Star Wars fans, we finally have the first episodes of Skeleton Crew. But let's be real for a second. Where is this franchise even headed? Is it time to dive 100 years into the future after the Skywalker saga, stick with prequels, or keep Rey's story alive? Let's unpack it all, because I have a lot to say. We've had Ahsoka, The Acolyte, and now Skeleton Crew. And honestly, it feels like Star Wars is still trying to figure itself out. We haven't seen anything concrete planned post-Episode 9, and everything so far feels like experimental storytelling. Even with The Mandalorian, The Book of Boba Fett, and Andor, they're all still tied to the timeline of the new trilogy in some way. But does Skeleton Crew finally bring something fresh to the table? Let's dive in. Skeleton Crew. I'll say this up front. Despite feeling like Star Wars has no clear direction, I really enjoyed this show. The characters, the adventure, everything about it is spectacular. John Watts did an incredible job. A lot of people are comparing it to The Goonies, but for me, it's closer in spirit to any great kids' adventure series. It even reminded me of Stranger Things, though obviously they're wildly different genres. One is sci-fi in space, the other is horror on Earth. Still, the sense of camaraderie and the way the kids carry the story is fantastic. For me, Skeleton Crew is a solid and super entertaining addition to Star Wars. The story. The plot follows a group of kids living on a planet called Atin, part of the New Republic. It's a place with its own beliefs, myths, and educational systems. The most adventurous of the group, Weem, discovers what looks like a Jedi temple. only to realize it's actually a buried pirate ship. All right, Star Wars fans, Skeleton Crew just dropped Episode 3, and let me tell you, it's a wild ride full of twists, questionable decisions, and jaw-dropping visuals. But is it living up to the hype? Let's dive in. Pick up right where we left off. And thank goodness they addressed the big question I had at the end of the last episode. Though, not in the most satisfying way. Turns out, Pirate Jodna clarifies he didn't break out of prison using the Force because, get this, he didn't have a ship to escape. Like, stealing one wasn't an option? I mean, sure, let's give him the benefit of the doubt. It's probably not easy to find some keys in that place. Fine, I'll buy it. The pacing this episode was a bit chaotic. I felt like something was off with Jodna and the kids. Firm and KB seemed distrustful of Jodna, while Weem and Neil idolizing him, which gave a certain contrast and naturalness to the scene, but Jude Law's interaction is simply strange. I mean, I feel like he could leave them stranded, and without so much nonsense. I think I can't quite believe it. It all felt a bit rushed and forced. The CGI in this show is just mind-blowing. That part where they return to the ship was so epic and cinematic. Like, whoa! This is definitely one of the craziest productions Disney's ever put out. It's insane. Jodna is clearly undercover in At-Aten, trying to steal all the planet's treasures and secrets. The show does such a great job of making you want to know what's out there. The owl character, Kahim, makes it clear there's no map, but they manage to get a coordinate sign. And when Jodna reveals he's not a Jedi, and that he's also known as Crimson Jack, it just adds another layer of mystery. He's got no choice but to work with the kids. Overall, I loved the first 2 episodes, and while this one was a little less mind-blowing, it was still a lot of fun. The mysteries keep you hooked. 7 out of 10. That's my review for the 3rd episodes. See you next time. Skeleton Crew just got real. This episode reveals the darkest truths about growing up, and some fans might not be ready for it. Let's dive in. Hey guys, welcome to another episode breakdown of Skeleton Crew. This series is really shaping up to be aimed squarely at kids, which is great for younger audiences, but it might leave some Star Wars fans a bit disappointed if they were expecting something more universal. I absolutely loved this episode. We see that Kahim's coordinates lead the crew to a world eerily similar to their own, at Akran. You could even call it a mirror version of At-Aten, but here there's a clear divide between 2 warring factions. The kids are forced to confront a harsh reality. Life outside the safety of home can be brutal. This theme instantly reminded me of the old saying, "Peaceful times create weak men, tough times create strong men." It's beautifully represented through Neil and his family. They live a peaceful life as office workers, but here's where the magic and the real lesson for kids comes in. Neil discovers his bravest side in this episode, delivering a powerful message for young viewers. Sometimes, the boldest thing you can do is ask for forgiveness. This heartfelt moment even hints that an act of forgiveness could end a war, touching the heart of Hana, a native girl from the planet. Of course, since this is a kids' show, we didn't get some wild Rambo-style action scene with the kids turning into warriors. Fans hoping for over-the-top action might feel let down. But this series has shown time and time again how entertaining it can be without relying on gratuitous fight scenes. Fern's emotional breakdown also stands out, showing us that even brave kids have limits. Neil had his moments too, grounding the episode in the reality of what children can handle. The show doesn't try to unrealistically portray these kids as spacefaring experts, and that's refreshing. It keeps the story logical and relatable. The mysteries surrounding the At planets continue to deepen. We're learning that there are multiple planets with the same initial. At-Akran, for instance, is like a twin, albeit opposite planet to At-Aten. It'll be exciting to see if this mystery unfolds further. Will there be some grand treasure to uncover? Or will the rest of the At planets be forgotten after this episode? Lastly, we said goodbye to Android 33, but we did learn that the former pirate had knowledge of At-Aten. This revelation sets up some major intrigue for the final episodes, where we'll likely uncover more about his backstory. Overall, I thought this episode was solid. Definitely a 7 out of 10 for me. If you missed my review of the previous episode, make sure to check it out. Until next time, may the Force be with you. All right, guys, we've got a new episode of Skeleton Crew. I know, it's been a few days since it dropped, but cut me some slack. With all the holiday chaos and other videos I've been cranking out, I just couldn't get this one out sooner. Let's dive straight into it. The kids set out for the secret hideout of Droid Captain number 33, only to find that time has changed everything. The land where the hideout once stood has been bought, redeveloped, and turned into a luxurious resort hotel and spa. That's right, the hideout is now buried deep beneath this flashy destination. Once they sneak in, the adventure really begins. The kids navigate a series of traps straight out of an Indiana Jones movie. But then, the inevitable happens. Enter Jod Na, the person with 1,000 names and 1,000 betrayals. Every character who crosses paths with Jod Na seems to have a story of being double-crossed. And guess what? He betrays the kids too, the moment the map to At-Atom is revealed. Now, here's what I loved. Yes, it was predictable, but Jod Na's moment of reflection, dare I say, even sadness, was so well done. It gave depth to his character. We've seen him save the kids on more than one occasion, even protect them to an extent. But when it came down to it, his darker instincts took over. He couldn't resist. Of course, Jod Na takes the lightsaber too, solidifying his turn to the dark side, so to speak. This episode was pure entertainment, with heavy Indiana Jones vibes. And just like how everyone knew what was coming with Anakin, Jod Na's betrayal still stings. That's why I'm giving this episode an 8 out of 10. Now the kids are stranded. No ship, no guide, and no plan. Meanwhile, Jod Na is on his way to At-Atom, aiming to steal the ancient jewels of the Old Republic. This cliffhanger is honestly one of the most intense points in the story so far. The kids are in serious trouble, and I can't wait to see how they figure things out. Let me know in the comments your theories. How will the kids find their way to At-Atom? Will Jod Na bring war to this hidden planet? Don't forget to check out my review of the previous episode, and as always, I'll see you next time. Happy New Year, everyone! Let's kick off 2025 with a bang, because today we're talking about the best episode of Skeleton Crew so far. Seriously, I had a blast watching it. This show is just so much fun. I finally got the answers I was looking for. Who could help the kids? Well, turns out they had to help themselves. After Jod Na's betrayal, the kids find themselves stranded on the outskirts of the mountains. And when they make their way out of the pirate's treasure stash, the truth about Jod Na is revealed. He's nothing more than a lying scoundrel. Really hoped that his lightsaber and force powers would give his character some honor, like facing off against Brutus and his pirates. But nope. He's nothing but a coward, only willing to fight defenseless kids. Although, I've got to admit, his cunning skills did save him from a death sentence by using his knowledge of the map to At-Atom and its secrets. On the flip side, I loved what they did with the kids, especially how we got to learn more about KB. This mysterious girl with such a unique look actually has parts of a droid. An accident from her past. Watching her nearly shut down was heartbreaking, but it was also the moment Wim stepped up and showed his bravery and heroism. And can we talk about the CGI for a second? I haven't brought this up in my reviews since the first episode, but this one, it flexed all the visual effects muscles. Just because it's a kids' show doesn't mean they cut corners on the budget. In fact, I think it's one of the best-looking series out there. From that monstrous crustacean to the stunning spaceships, it all looked incredible. The only downside? The episode felt way too short. Still, it's a solid 10 out of 10 for me. Sure, it's a bit of a stretch to believe the kids could actually fly the ship, but that didn't take away from how insanely entertaining this episode was. My only hope for the next one is that they don't suddenly turn these kids into Jedi-level pilots. I'd like to see them struggle a bit with navigating the ship, maybe even get saved by someone or something. Or could it be that Brutus's crew catches up to them? We'll find out next time. What did you think of this episode? Let me know in the comments, and if you missed my thoughts on the previous one, check it out here. Until next time, may the Force be with you. They're finally here. The kids have made it to At-Atin, and it's absolutely thrilling. But not everything is sunshine and rainbows. The penultimate episode of Skeleton Crew will leave you breathless, torn between excitement and frustration, especially as Captain Jod manages to infiltrate At-Atin himself. This episode was an absolute roller coaster. The action was top-notch, and as always, the CGI was nothing short of spectacular. Captain Jod achieves his goal, proving yet again why he's such a compelling character. He's downright despicable, and Jude Law delivers an impeccable performance. In the most critical moments, Jod grovels and schemes, waiting for the perfect opportunity to seize power and crown himself the Pirate King, leaving a trail of destruction in his wake. Of course, the episode wasn't without its flaws. It leaned heavily on plot conveniences and Deus Ex Machina moments, but it still managed to be incredibly enjoyable. Take Droid 33, for example. Its betrayal of Jode to hand the ship over to the kids didn't make much sense logically, but it was so entertaining that instead of getting mad, I laughed out loud. Honestly, Jod totally deserved that humiliation. And although we lost Droid 33, the iconic reunion scene after this grand adventure was deeply moving. While Wim hesitated for a moment, questioning whether to return after witnessing Jod's rotten nature, he ultimately realizes there's nothing better than home. And speaking of Jod, what a transformation! He's gone from a seemingly empathetic caretaker, willing to protect the kids, to a disgusting, ruthless, and manipulative pirate. This shift becomes crystal clear in his face-off with the kids, shattering any shred of decency he might have had left. And that final, jaw-dropping moment? When Jod threatens the kids' parents, staking his claim on the ultimate treasure of At-Atin, it was pure cinematic gold. Jod's return to wearing his helmet symbolizes his complete transformation into this menacing figure. It also highlights how weak the droids are when faced with real threats, making At-Atin's camouflage all the more crucial. I'd rate this episode an 8 out of 10. It was thrilling, fun, and packed with emotion, and it has me eagerly anticipating the finale. Let me know your thoughts below. And don't forget to check out my review of the amazing KB episode right here. See you next time. We're kicking off a What If Christmas Marathon, an episode every day until we finish the season. What better way to close out the year and celebrate the holidays than by diving into Marvel's alternate universes? And it all starts with Mechs vs. Kaijus! Let me tell you, I was nervous about this one. I saw some comments earlier today saying people didn't like it, and I thought, no way. How could the Kaiju episode flop? But oh boy, was I wrong. This episode blew me away. Seriously, what do people want? It's an incredible way to kick off this final season of What If. Let's break it down. The premise is a bit over the top, but fun. The first mechs were created to take on the original Hulk, mini Hulk busters, basically. After Hulk is defeated, Bruce Banner and Sam Wilson form a strong friendship, which becomes the heart of the episode. Banner, trying to get rid of Hulk once and for all, ends up creating a monstrous kaiju with an entire army to take down the original Avengers. This sets the stage for Marvel's newer characters, like Red Guardian and Moon Knight, to step up and fight these monsters. The new mechs? Absolutely amazing. The battles are brutal and, for an animated episode, you can really feel the weight of the monsters and robots. At the same time, the action is fast-paced and dynamic. It's a feast for the eyes. This episode clearly draws inspiration from Pacific Rim, Gundam, and even Hideo Kojima's Zone of the Enders. The mech designs for Sam and Monica Rambeau are heavily influenced by those franchises. However, I wasn't a fan of Mega Hulk's design. They went full Godzilla with scales and a tail, which felt off for Hulk. I get the kaiju theme, but I think they could have gone with a design that felt more true to the character. For me, this episode is a 10 out of 10. It highlights friendship and teamwork, showcases incredible mechs, and brings together superheroes, robots, and kaijus. You can't hate on that. Let me know what you thought of this episode in the comments. And hey, any theories on who the girl was at the beginning? I have no clue. Also, stick around, because my take on the new Superman trailer is coming up next. Hey guys, welcome back. Today, we're diving into the next chapter of our Marvel Multiverse Christmas Marathon with the latest episode of What If? And trust me, you won't want to miss this one. It's all about Agatha and Kingo? Yeah, you heard that right. Let's break it down. This time, it's Agatha and Kingo taking center stage. Of course, you all know Agatha. Her series just wrapped up a few months ago. But Kingo? Yup, that's the Eternal from Eternals. Marvel decided to bring him back, and let's just say, it's not in the best way, but it's definitely memorable. The episode really gave us a new perspective on some of Marvel's most overlooked characters. Let's be honest, Eternals is probably Marvel's most out there and experimental superhero film. It's so different from their usual formula. But blending the mystical vibes of the Eternals with Agatha's magic? Genius! These two concepts, cosmic mysticism and pure magical chaos, meshed beautifully. Now, I'll admit something. I've never been the biggest Agatha fan. Sure, her show had its highs, its lows, and its meh moments. She felt like just another side character to me. Honestly, the main draw of her series, for me, was the big reveal of Wiccan. But hey, I'll give her this. Her show was a hit with fans and blew up on social media. But here's the thing. I ended up loving Agatha in this animated format way more than her live-action counterpart. Her performance in this episode? Phenomenal. And then there's Kingo, who was probably the most meh Eternal. Yet somehow, they managed to make him interesting by blending his cosmic celestial energy with Agatha's magic. Honestly, the episode could have been titled, What If Agatha Became a Celestial? Because that's basically what happens. Celestial Agatha? She looked incredible. The animation was absolutely stunning. This episode was packed with comedy. Howard Stark, cracking jokes, Bollywood meets Hollywood vibes with Kingo, and the epic cosmic flair of the Celestials. And Agatha's charm? 10 out of 10. This is the kind of episode that sticks with you. Not every episode of What If? Season 2 has been a hit for me. For example, the one introducing that new character, or the Avengers Robin Hood era episode, meh. But this one? They nailed it. It really makes me think Marvel should bring this magic and Celestials combo into the MCU. It could be the perfect way to revitalize the Eternals. Let's be real, nobody's really hyped about them anymore. Anyway, that's my take. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to check out my review of Episode 1 of What If? Season 3. It's linked right here. See you in the next one. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas, everyone. I wish you all happiness, love, and prosperity this holiday season. But hold on to your eggnog, because we've got the latest episode of What If? As part of this epic Christmas marathon, and guess what? I told you guys that if there was ever an episode I didn't like, I'd call it out. Well, it's finally happened. Let's talk about it. The episode should have been titled, Red Guardian Becomes an Avenger, because that's exactly what it was about. And honestly, these episode titles, not always the best fit. Now, back to the story. I feel like this episode would have worked much better in the first season. After 2 absolutely massive, jaw-dropping episodes, we get this. It's a real letdown. The whole vibe here feels like they wanted a more grounded buddy cop-style adventure. A throwback to those 90s movies with unlikely duos. You've got Winter Soldier teaming up with Red Guardian, which sounds fun in theory, but here's the thing. We just had a light-hearted episode. And let's face it, Red Guardian's humor isn't for everyone. Plus, they crammed it all into a 30-minute runtime. That's not enough time to flesh out Bucky's character arc, especially with how lobotomized he's been lately. How is he suddenly best buds with Red Guardian? And then, that ending. Bucky resisting the power of the book because of the power of friendship? What? It didn't make any sense. And what's up with the loose ends? Why Red Guardian is the only one who escapes? These questions are never answered. It's implied everything worked out. So I guess we'll see Bucky as a loyal friend again whenever Black Panther shows up. Oh, and let's talk about the cameos. Some of the most obscure in the entire MCU. Do you even remember Bill Foster? He was Hank Pym's assistant in Ant-Man and the Wasp, played by Lawrence Fishburne. You know, that guy. Well, he was Goliath in the comics. And yeah, apparently he was the first to experiment with giant transformations. But like those forgettable scenes from Ant-Man 2, no one really cares. Then there's Obadiah Stane, the villain from Iron Man 1. Turns out he's the one who ordered the Winter Soldier to take out the Stark family. That might have been the most interesting part of the episode, but it's still not enough to save it. Bottom line, this episode was a waste. It would have worked in Season 1 when the novelty of the series carried weaker episodes, but now, it's just not cutting it. I'm giving this one a 6 out of 10. Now, if you're looking for a solid episode, check out my review of the Agatha episode. That one was fantastic. And let's all agree on one thing. Red Guardian is way too annoying to ever carry a storyline like this. Merry Christmas, everyone. See you in the next one. Merry Christmas, everyone. I hope you had an amazing Christmas Eve, got all your presents from Santa, and guess what? Marvel just dropped probably the most bizarre episode in the MCU. I have to admit, I had fun watching it. Before we dive in, I just want to take a moment to thank all of you for your incredible support. Your views, your comments, everything. It means the world to me. Wishing you all a blessed Christmas full of light, hope, and prosperity. All right, let's get into it. Howard the Duck and Darcy, yes, the Darcy from Thor's universe, have a baby. I know, sounds wild, right? But here's the deal. In Season 1 of What If, there was an episode where Thor threw a huge party. And that's where Darcy and Howard met, fell in love, and now they have a baby. But not just any baby. It's an egg, a hybrid, between two worlds. Craziness doesn't stop there. The baby is born during the planetary convergence, which wraps it in this mystical aura. Now, everyone in the universe believes that whoever possesses this egg will gain ultimate power. Who would have thought that after Endgame, Marvel would give us another epic showdown in What If? You might have expected something on the scale of Doomsday or Secret Wars, but nope, it's What If, and it's all about this bizarre egg. Honestly, you've got to watch it. I found it way more entertaining than the Bucky and Red Guardian episode. Speaking of which, I seem to live in an upside-down world because I see people raving about that Bucky episode online, while I'm sitting here thinking this one was way better. Sure, it started off super weird, but somehow it just picked up momentum. I had a blast. The Kiss song, Darcy's rock star vibe, and Howard's antics were pure gold. And let's not forget the epic mix of Dark Elves, Frost Giants, Grandmaster's crew, and Dormammu's storyline. It all came together to make the episode oddly enjoyable. My verdict? A solid 7 out of 10. Fun, weird, and introducing a brand new character to the MCU. A cosmic duck-human hybrid baby. Yep, What If? Really added 2 fresh characters to the MCU this time. But what about you? Did you like it? Let me know in the comments. Oh, and don't forget to check out my breakdown of the Bucky and Red Guardian episode. I'll link it here. Hey guys, check out this new What If episode. It's part of this epic Christmas marathon. And guess what? It's my birthday too. Yeah, another year older. And Marvel hooked us up with these crazy apocalyptic what-ifs. This one is seriously awesome. Way better than the others. I've seen people freaking out about it since early this morning, sharing screenshots, and I didn't really see the same movement with the previous ones. I think what makes this episode so great is the characters. White Vision is back, and who would have thought? Mystery too. And get this, the main character is Riri Williams, who people usually hate on. But I've always said that she could be a badass if they didn't keep comparing her to Iron Man. In this episode, we can see how she was simply a genius who could defeat Vision by making a mega-fused armor, turning her into another super-powerful female character. I see you there, Victoria Alonso, and your ideologies. But with all that, the character works. The character worked, I've seen very little hate. But you'll give me your opinion on her. A super entertaining and epic episode to see Mystery. Again, why the hell did they kill him in the MCU? It works super cool. I love how he says, illusions magic, when the correct term is holograms, practically. And we see how disastrous it could have been if the Celestial had emerged from the Earth destroying everything. A very entertaining episode. A 9 out of 10 with a Uatu being observed by his homunculi this time, which will presumably lead us to the end of the season, or even the end of the series. Practically leave me in the comments, what do you think of this episode? The best so far? I leave you my review of the previous episode. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of our epic Christmas What If marathon. This time, we're diving into a wild mashup. Shang-Chi and Kate Bishop in the Old West. Imagine the perfect blend of classic cowboy vibes and Shanghai Noon. Yes, the Jackie Chan and Owen Wilson movie. But let's be real. Kate Bishop totally outshines Owen Wilson in every way. Let's break it all down. All right. One of the coolest Easter eggs in this episode was the mention of the Hood, the new villain we'll see in Ironheart. While it wasn't a huge focus, it's a neat nod to what's coming. Of course, everything took a sharp plot twist when Shang-Chi's sister turned out to be the villain, but the mention was definitely there. Speaking of Ironheart, last episode's main character was Riri Williams, so it feels like these episodes are giving us subtle hints about the upcoming series. That said, beyond the Easter eggs, I'd say this episode was pretty average overall. Shang-Chi absolutely steals the spotlight with his insane kung fu moves. Seriously, they're top tier. But beyond that, it's a solid 7 out of 10. Nothing too controversial or groundbreaking here. Now, the ending? That's where things got memorable. Let's talk about Uatu. Honestly, if you ask me, he's been pushing the boundaries with his interference lately. Sure, he's been helping out left and right, and the universes owe him big time. Without him, half of them would have been swallowed by darkness already. But his fellow Watchers? Yeah, they're not thrilled about his meddling. And this time, they straight up attack him, setting up what's sure to be an epic series finale. With only 2 episodes left, I'm betting Uatu will have to call in reinforcements, like Captain Carter and that ultra-powerful character Victoria Alonso created last season. To wrap it up, we see some universes falling into the void, and who knows what kind of consequences that'll bring. What do you guys think? The finale is just around the corner, and it's shaping up to deliver another multiversal crossover against the Watchers. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to check out my review of the previous episode. See you next time. Hey guys, buckle up, because today we're diving into the penultimate episode of What If? All the scattered stories finally converge here. So, what's my first impression? Well, let me just say, Victoria Alonso's fingerprints are all over this one again. Right off the bat, we're introduced to a squad of ultra-multiversal, mega-powerful superwomen. And my initial reaction was, here we go again. But hey, surprisingly, the execution wasn't that bad. Let's talk about the controversial character, Birdie. Her adult version is actually awesome. Her rock star personality really shines, and honestly, she's such a fun addition. And Storm? Oh man, with her original voice actress back, she's absolutely mesmerizing. What's not to love? Then there's Captain Carter, who's essentially put together a multiversal Avengers team using Kang's time machine as their central hub. The ship they used to transport the team looked familiar, but I couldn't quite place the reference. If you caught it, drop it in the comments below. Now, let's get into the actual episode. The Watcher gets captured by his multiversal counterparts to be judged, and the Avengers discover the cracks in the multiverse from the last episode. These cracks reveal that the only being capable of leading them is none other than Infinite Ultron. I loved the detail of how only one of them could actually hear the Watcher. Those Infinite Ultrons? Turns out, they're trapped in their respective universes, doomed to eternal solitude. Makes sense, right? If one exists in a universe, it leaves the others completely empty. Here's the big twist, though. After spending eons reflecting on his existence, Ultron decides to help the team. He uses the last fragment of the multiverse to transform himself into something almost godlike for the final epic battle of the series. This episode had a mix of humor, minimal action, but when the action hit, it was epic. Overall, I'd rate it a solid 7 out of 10. But the real question remains, will this massive marathon finale do justice to the multiverse? We'll find out tomorrow. Oh, and before you go, check out my review of Shang-Chi Cowboy. It wasn't entirely boring, worth a watch. Catch you next time. The best since Spectacular Spider-Man? These jaw-dropping statements are kicking off this video. Guys, we've got the first impressions of your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. And Positive doesn't even begin to cover it. Just wait until you hear what the critics are saying. Drop a comment below if you think this series, which at first glance might not seem like a hit, is about to take the Marvel fandom by storm. I had my doubts, but I ended up loving it. The animation never really sold me, but it nails almost everything else. I love all the new takes on Spidey's characters, especially the script. the best Spider-Man show since Spectacular. Jack McBrien. It's a really great Spidey story. This version of Peter feels authentic and is a great mix of comic tradition and the MCU. The final episodes are amazing. It may not have the depth of X-Men 97, but it's definitely one of the best Marvel animation entries, no doubt. Brandon Davis. It's going to be a hit with Marvel fans, especially Marvel Comics fans. Packed with tons of content, from fan-favorite characters to surprising twists in some episodes. It's the perfect show for families. Not too childish, not too adult. So, the key takeaways from these reviews are, the new character versions don't come off cringy, and it's a show that the whole family can enjoy. From the littlest to the most adult fans, with insane surprise cameos and mind-blowing final episodes, it's really starting to build hype. Are you excited about what's coming? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to check out my review of the latest MCU animation, What If? Guys, we need to talk. Your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man just dropped, and the critics were right. This show is absolutely amazing. In this video, I'll break down the hits and misses of the series, so let's get into it. Right off the bat, the series expands the universe in a huge way. Doctor Strange battling a symbiote in the opening scene? My God, that had everyone's jaws on the floor. And what's even better is how the show takes inspiration from the Miles Morales movies. Because the spider that bit Peter doesn't seem to be from this universe. Drop a comment below. What did you think of that opening? Do you think we'll see the multiverse sooner than expected? Maybe even in a second season? Now, let's talk about the animation. I'm not an expert, so I can't fully explain what's happening, but something feels off. When Peter isn't swinging around, it looks like the frame rate drops below the usual 24 FPS. It's almost like the animation slows down during normal scenes, and then speeds up again for action and web swinging. It creates a weird effect, and honestly, I'm not sure how I feel about it. That said, the comic-style transitions? Absolutely top tier. Let me know in the comments, did you notice the odd animation too? And if you know exactly why it looks like this, drop an explanation below. On another note, the show takes its time developing every character, and that's one of its biggest strengths. It gives everyone depth, which is great for adults, and adds another layer to the story. But here's the thing. I worry that kids might find it a bit slow. It's a double-edged sword trying to appeal to all audiences. That being said, the show nails Spider-Man's humor, innocence, and youthful energy, reminding us that Peter Parker started as a teenager, something Tom Holland's movies didn't fully capture. It's got that fresh, youthful vibe that makes it a blast to watch. For me, it's a solid 8 out of 10. Check out my thoughts on another Marvel animated project, What If? And the latest updates on Marvel's plans for Wolverine in the MCU. The most epic Spider-Man scene without any action? Hey guys, welcome back. Today, we're kicking off a brand new series on the channel, Epic Scenes. And what better way to start than with your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man? This scene doesn't rely on insane action, flashy effects, or mind-blowing animation. Nope. This one is pure heart, the essence of Spider-Man. It happens when a young woman, desperate and out of options, steals from a pizza shop while Peter is delivering an order. Caught in his webs, she begs for mercy. Instead of being quick to judge, Peter shows compassion. He tells the owner it's up to him whether to call the authorities, but he also reminds him that everyone has bad days. Maybe she deserves a second chance. As the owner considers, we see the girl break down in tears, truly regretting what she did. Leave me a comment with your thoughts on this scene. This moment defines who Peter Parker is. This is Spider-Man. This is why people love him. He's not a distant, godlike hero like Thor or Iron Man. He's not untouchable like Captain America. He's the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, the one who looks out for his community, who sees the good in people. And the best part? The pizza shop owner forgives her. With a warm, fatherly tone, he tells her it's okay. Just don't make the same mistake again. Even as she walks away, Peter keeps advocating for her, showing just how deeply he cares. And Peter, with a warm, fatherly tone, he tells her it's okay. It's a beautiful scene that perfectly captures Peter's kindness and undeniably earns its place as the very first entry in this new series. What do you think? Do you agree this is one of Spidey's best moments? Let me know in the comments. Get your wardrobes ready. Netflix is reviving Narnia, and it's bigger than ever. For everyone who grew up dreaming of saving a magical kingdom, this is your moment. Netflix is taking us back to Narnia, and not just with anyone. It's Greta Gerwig, the brilliant mind behind Barbie. Let me know in the comments what you think about the Barbie director taking on this project. And hey, do you trust Netflix with this? After all, there's a reason the Netflix adaptation meme exists. First stop, the origins. The adventure begins at the very start with the magician's nephew, the prequel that reveals how the magical world of Narnia came to life. With dark magic, portals, and chaos, we'll witness Aslan creating everything from scratch. When and where? The magic is set to arrive in late 2025, and Netflix is going all out with an IMAX theatrical release. Just imagine hearing Aslan's roar in all its glory. The cast is still a complete mystery, and there are no images yet. But if Narnia has taught us anything, it's to expect the unexpected. What to expect? It's been over a decade since the last Narnia films hit theaters. They were originally a trilogy. I only remember up to Prince Caspian. So you can imagine my surprise when the saga seemed to vanish, overshadowed and overlooked. Now, with Greta at the helm and Netflix behind the wheel, we can anticipate. Stunning visuals, deep emotional characters, a faithful yet fresh adaptation that captures the hearts of both new and longtime fans. Ready to step through the wardrobe? The return to Narnia is just around the corner, and it's shaping up to be an unforgettable journey. In the meantime, get ready to dream again, and maybe dust off your favorite Narnia books. Check out my video about the latest Star Wars news and another interesting video from the channel. Don't miss it! Alright, Star Wars fans, it's official. The galaxy is expanding once again, and we're heading back to the Skywalker saga. The new Star Wars movie has been confirmed as Episode 10, but is this really what we've been waiting for? Let's talk about it. Hey everyone, welcome back to another video on the channel. So, it's now official. The next Star Wars movie will be titled Star Wars New Jedi Order, with Rey Skywalker returning as the protagonist. The story is set 15 years after the events of the rise of Skywalker. And, well, I think for many fans, their worst fears have come true. First off, Disney seems incapable of letting go of the past, even after they practically destroyed everything tied to the original trilogy with their recent entry. But let's not kid ourselves. It would be naive to think this new movie won't introduce new concepts and characters. Who knows? We might even get some worthy successors to the Skywalker legacy. However, on paper, the movie seems determined to continue emphasizing the Skywalker lineage. What do you think of Disney's insistence on keeping the Skywalker saga alive in one way or another? Do you think it's finally time to move on from that legacy? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Now, here's the thing. Rey represents the perfect opportunity to leap forward. Not just 10 or 15 years, but 20, 50, or even 100 years with new characters and new stories. I mean, at this point, everything is practically new. Yet Disney insists on making Rey the central figure again. Let's be honest, after 3 movies, she still couldn't convince a lot of fans as the leading protagonist. I'd even argue that Kylo Ren, despite being a whiny character, managed to connect with the fandom better than Rey ever did. And now, here we are, with Disney doubling down on making her the face of the franchise. As of now, there's no word on whether characters like Finn or Poe will return, though it wouldn't necessarily be a problem if they didn't. What about you? Did you like Rey as the protagonist in the previous trilogy? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Oh, and don't forget to check out my video on Skeleton Crew for more Star Wars updates. See you in the next one. New details about the Fire and Ash clan in Avatar 3, James Cameron's upcoming film that's set to break all box office records once again. This new installment promises to take us deeper into Pandora, in its rawest, most brutal, and reflective form. Here's what we know. The Fire Clan will be the villains. An important character will join the Fire Clan. The leader of the Fire Clan is named Varang. Actress Una Chaplin plays Varang. The life of the Fire Clan's Na'vi was extremely harsh. The Fire Clan's Na'vi don't believe in feelings. The Fire Clan will be the villains. We'll meet another tribe that lives by traveling through the air. This won't be a family story. It's taking a big turn. Post-production took 2 years. Avatar 3 drops on December 19th. Avatar 4 takes place on Earth. Also, it's been confirmed that Sully and his family will experience a significant loss, since James Cameron believes that grief in film is like a sneeze. It comes and goes fast. It's interesting how, despite the loss, the story won't be centered around family. I'm dying to see how the Earth is portrayed, especially given how humanity destroyed it so badly that they had to head to Pandora to steal its resources. Let me know in the comments which of these new revelations caught your attention the most. And I'll see you in the next video. And where were you when the Fire Nation attacked? This is starting to feel like Avatar: The Last Airbender. No way. Or maybe? Unbelievable, guys. Sandman has been cancelled. What we all suspected would happen has finally happened. Netflix's official account just confirmed it, along with a statement from the show's showrunner. All of this comes after the recent allegations against writer Neil Gaiman. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you think this was the right move? Confused? Not sure what's going on? Here's the context. Apparently, due to allegations of inappropriate conduct by Neil Gaiman following an investigation by the New York Times, it was reported that Gaiman, one of the biggest advocates for the Me Too and Believe Women movements, allegedly assaulted over 20 women across different years. Now, the numbers vary. Some reports mention 8 women. Others say more. In the same vein, numbered Dark Horse Comics, the publisher of Gaiman's graphic novels and comics, announced this week that they will no longer work with him following these serious allegations. They also confirmed today that they are halting the publication of his upcoming series, The Children of Anan. So, guys, it looks like the next season of The Sandman will be its last. It seems the series will remain unfinished because, well, it was clearly cancelled. But what do you think about these decisions being made before any trial or verdict? The same thing happened with Jonathan Majors. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Catch you in the next one, and don't forget to check out more interesting videos on the channel. See you soon! What if I told you that superhero movies as we know them today owe a massive debt to one man? that everything changed in 2005 when Christopher Nolan redefined the game. Stick around, because we're diving into the groundbreaking trends Nolan set in motion and how they shaped, or maybe even cursed, the superhero genre. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're taking a closer look at a major shift in superhero cinema, the rise of realistic, grounded storytelling that redefined an entire generation. And at the center of it all, Christopher Nolan. Yes, you heard that right. It's wild to think it's been so many years since Nolan dropped Batman Begins on us back in 2005. Nolan didn't just bring Batman to life, he brought him to our world. Gone were the bright colors, the over-the-top costumes, and the campy vibes. Instead, Nolan asked, what if superheroes existed in a gritty, real world like ours? His Dark Knight trilogy shattered expectations, making us believe that Batman could walk among us. That was the real magic of Nolan's vision. But here's the thing. His groundbreaking approach didn't just change superhero movies. It changed all of cinema as we knew it. Let me know in the comments. What was your first impression when you watched Batman Begins? Did it feel like a super realistic take on the superhero genre to you? Now, Nolan's influence didn't just stop at making superheroes feel real. He also gave them a darker, more mature tone. Zack Snyder, for example, took that idea and ran with it in Watchmen, blending it into his own unique style. But here's where things got interesting. Some directors tried to copy Nolan's formula with characters that didn't quite fit. Take Josh Trank's Fantastic Four. He aimed for a dark, realistic vibe, but the characters and tone just didn't click. Even The Amazing Spider-Man by Mark Webb had that Batman Begins energy, at least in the first film. By the sequel, Sony seemed to realize their mistake and leaned into a more comic book-inspired approach. Sure, it wasn't perfect, but it felt more authentic to Spider-Man. This brings me to my main point. Nolan's impact was both a blessing and a curse for superhero movies. He raised the bar with his realism, but many directors tried to replicate that style without asking if it actually suited the characters. Imagine trying to make a realistic Hulk movie. It just doesn't work. Superhero stories are, at their core, about fantasy and larger-than-life characters. So here's my question for you. Which superheroes do you think could work in a darker, more realistic movie without forcing it? Drop your ideas in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Without the right context and character analysis, directors risk ruining superhero movies by forcing them into a mold they don't belong in. And honestly, that's why we're seeing James Gunn shift back toward a more fantastical universe. If you enjoyed this analysis, check out my video on Interstellar, another masterpiece that defined a generation. Until next time, forget everything you think you know about movies. Interstellar isn't just a film, it's a full-blown experience. Today, we're diving into why revisiting this masterpiece feels like reliving history and how its most powerful scenes have transcended cinema to become cultural phenomena. Buckle up, it's gonna be epic. Interstellar isn't just a story, it's a glimpse into humanity's future. The movie's premise hits hard, the inevitability of space colonization. Why? Because one day, our sun will explode, wiping out everything nearby. Extinction isn't just a distant threat, it's a countdown. And honestly, we don't have to wait for that cosmic timer to run out. The film's exploration of anomalies, space travel, and survival feels more relevant than ever, especially when you think about pioneers like Elon Musk trying to take those first steps. But let's be real. This isn't just about one billionaire's vision. Space colonization should already be humanity's top priority. Building space stations and settling other planets? That's not science fiction anymore. It's the next chapter of human evolution. Interstellar doesn't just tell a story. It challenges us to think bigger. If you've seen Japanese series like Gundam, you'll notice similar themes of space exploration and survival. And yeah, I know we're about 2 minutes into this video and haven't fully dived into the movie itself yet, but hear me out. This approach works because Interstellar is so deep, it demands a broader conversation. Honestly, I could make a 20-minute video and still only scratch the surface. Visually, Interstellar is a masterpiece. The music? Haunting. The silence in space? Absolutely immersive. It makes you feel like you're right there with the crew. This film doesn't just entertain, it awakens emotions. Sure, it's not perfect. Some problems could have been solved with better communication between characters, but it's still the 2001 A Space Odyssey of our generation. And let's not forget its influence. So many films tried to imitate its brilliance. Even Alien, Romulus, and All the Lore feel like they borrowed heavily from Interstellar's concepts. This is an epic masterpiece of our time, a solid 10/10. If you ever get the chance, take a trip to the Lazarus mission and fully immerse yourself in the interstellar experience. This is the Wolverine story you've been waiting for. Intense action, jaw-dropping twists, and a brand new vibe. Ultimate Wolverine will blow your mind. Hey everyone, if you're into Wolverine, you have to check this out. We're talking about Ultimate Wolverine, a comic packed with insane action, unexpected twists, and a vibe that feels super fresh. Trust me, it's a dynamic read, never boring, always exciting, and absolutely worth your time. Now, let's get into it. This comic throws more questions than answers right out of the gate. It introduces Wolverine as he's sent on a high-stakes mission to eliminate a target. And let me tell you, the action here is intense. Heads up, this one's for adults, because it doesn't shy away from showing some seriously violent panels. Also get a glimpse into Wolverine's past, showing how he was subjected to experiments. But here's the twist. This time, the experiments were carried out by a strange team made up of Colossus, Magic, and Omega Red. Weird, right? We don't know much about their organization yet, but they seem to be working under Stryker, or maybe even Hydra. And here's the kicker. Wolverine isn't Weapon X in this story. He's the Winter Soldier. His mission? To take out Mystique and Nightcrawler, who somehow have a mysterious connection to his past. Why are they targets? That's part of the intrigue this comic builds so well. For me, this is a straight-up 10 out of 10. The best thing about it? It's not a chore to read. It's fast-paced and visually stunning. The artwork is an absolute 10 out of 10. It has this Italian graphic novel vibe that makes every panel look epic, especially with Wolverine's slick new suit. If you haven't read it yet, do yourself a favor and dive in. Hey everyone! Today, I'm diving into my first impressions of Castlevania Nocturne Season 2. Right from the start, this season kicks off with all the power and elegance of Alucard. And trust me, it'll leave you speechless. But here's the real question. Does it live up to the hype? Let me break it all down for you. Without a doubt, the best part of this show is its action sequences and that gritty, mature tone, especially with all the blood and gore. This season really nails the vampire theme better than the first one did, in my opinion. Maybe it's because the animation feels smoother this time around, but the vampire's monstrous nature is way more terrifying and visceral. It's like the show finally figured out how to make them truly frightening. Another thing that stands out is the humor. I don't remember much comedy in the first season, but this time, there's a good balance between drama and lighter moments. It keeps the show from feeling overly dark or heavy, and honestly, that's a big improvement. Now, let's talk about the big issue. I don't want to sound obvious or harsh, but the show is too reliant on continuity. I get it. It's a second season, so it's supposed to continue the story. But at times, it feels like it leans so hard on the first season that it's hard to follow. For example, we've got the good guys trying to take down the vampire messiah, the chimera beasts still causing havoc in the town, and then there's this whole Mummy Egypt subplot that feels completely disconnected. Honestly, the first season isn't something you'd want to rewatch, so it would have been nice if they gave us a quick recap or better context. After watching the first 2 episodes, here's my take. Season 2 feels fresh, with a perfect mix of drama, comedy, and a festival of action with just the right amount of gore. Even if the plot isn't super clear, the action scenes alone make it worth watching. That said, I wouldn't recommend going back to rewatch the first season just to catch up. It's not worth the hassle. For now, my first impression is a solid 7 out of 10. Check out more awesome videos on my channel, and I'll see you next time. Hey guys, the new Daredevil Born Again trailer just dropped, and guess what? In my last video, we talked about how Marvel had delayed it. Well, it's finally here. What do you think so far? Let's dive. The Devil of Hell's Kitchen is back, and his first official trailer is breaking the internet. The first thing you need to know is that this series will continue the story from the Netflix show. So, if you're like me and haven't caught up on all the seasons yet, especially Season 3, it's the perfect time to binge-watch before this series launches. What stands out in this trailer is the incredible lineup of characters. We've got Kingpin, Punisher, the villain Muse, and even a new hero, White Tiger. The cinematography and editing absolutely epic. The trailer promises the same level of brutality and rawness we loved on Netflix, complete with blood, broken bones, and intense action. One interesting plot thread teased in the trailer is Kingpin's rise to power. It looks like he's either already the mayor or the top contender for the role. This could lead to a Devil's Reign storyline, where Kingpin, as mayor, enforces anti-hero laws. If Marvel decides to go this route, it could change the entire status quo for street-level heroes. We might see smaller crossovers on TV while paving the way for bigger events on the big screen, like the Avengers. With the series dropping in early March, just a month and a half away, the hype is real. Make sure to watch the Netflix series if you haven't already, and brace yourselves for a season packed with action. Oh, and have some tissues ready. Rumors suggest that Foggy or Karen Page might not make it out of this season alive. Check out my related video on why this trailer took so long to release. Until next time. Hey guys, with Guy Gardner making his debut as the first Green Lantern in the DCU, it's time to talk about this lesser-known hero. He might not be as iconic as John Stewart or the legendary Hal Jordan, but his story? Oh, it's one for the ages. So buckle up, because you won't want to miss this. When Abin Sur crash-landed on Earth, his ring found 2 worthy candidates to take his place. Hal Jordan was chosen, but only because he was closer. The other contender? Guy Gardner. He was designated as the backup, the one to step in if something ever happened to Jordan. However, tragedy struck when Gardner was in a devastating accident that left him in a coma, paving the way for John Stewart to become Jordan's replacement. Guy eventually woke up during the events of Crisis on Infinite Earths. With Hal Jordan having resigned as a Green Lantern, the Guardians decided to pass the mantle to Guy. But things had changed. Some believe Gardner suffered a brain injury during his accident, and it was clear his personality had shifted dramatically. He was now far more aggressive, often teetering on the edge of violence, and even psychopathy. What many don't know is that before his accident, Gardner wasn't always this hot-headed rebel. With the help of his brother, he had turned his life around, becoming a model citizen. He earned multiple academic degrees, and even worked as a teacher for children with disabilities. Unfortunately, his brother's death and the coma that followed altered his path forever. And now, this is the Green Lantern Superman we'll have to deal with. A seemingly violent and rebellious Guy Gardner. But is he really as aggressive as his reputation suggests? After all, he appears to be working alongside Maxwell Lord in a Justice League team, which might explain his unique suit. What do you think? Was it the right choice to include Guy Gardner as the first Green Lantern in the DCU? Or would you have preferred to see John Stewart or Hal Jordan make their debut first, with Gardner appearing later in the Lanterns series? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to check out my other videos about Superman, James Gunn's new movie. You'll find the links right here. Hey guys, today we've got something really exciting about Batman. It's all about Batman Absolute. In this version, we see a very young Bruce Wayne, completely devastated by the loss of his father. Even at such a young age, his fury is palpable, and the artwork beautifully conveys those emotions. While the story does include some slightly chaotic time jumps, it takes us through Bruce's childhood, his teenage years, and his first days as Gotham's vigilante. What I found particularly fun is how literal Bruce is with the Bat theme in this version. He even adds fangs to his costume to bite his enemies. In his early days, he prowls Gotham's neighborhoods, but even Bruce starts to realize that this approach is a bit aimless. That's when he decides to take on Gotham's true powers, Falcone and Maroni. Another key element that defines Bruce in this story is his relationship with his father. There's a moment where he takes inspiration from one of his dad's bridge projects to design his future suit. The retractable bridge's bat-like shape inspires the iconic claws on his cape. At the end of the comic, Bruce visits the man who killed his father in prison. As a child, he only wanted to get the pain off his chest, but now he seeks answers. This moment closes the story on a deeply emotional note. Origin stories are incredibly important. They give us insight into who these characters are, what motivates them, and how subtle changes can add new layers to their legacy. This version of Batman, Absolute, pays a powerful tribute to Batman. Year One, while reinterpreting it in a fresh, captivating way. Honestly, Marvel and even James Gunn could learn from this approach. Original and creative takes on superhero origins with a few meaningful twists could really capture and intrigue audiences. For me, the standout moments of this comic were Bruce's interactions with his father and his decision to go after Gotham's major players. What do you think about this version of Batman? Personally, I loved it. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and I'll catch you next time. Could Dr. Doom be the most powerful villain in the MCU? His connection to Reed Richards might shock you. In the Marvel Cinematic Universe, MCU, Dr. Doom might actually be more powerful than Reed Richards, as he's one of the most skilled sorcerers in the universe. Reed Richards, also known as Mr. Fantastic, is a brilliant scientist who gained the ability to stretch, deform, and reform his body, thanks to cosmic ray exposure. While we don't know much about the MCU's official version of Reed Richards, played by Pedro Pascal, early indications suggest this Reed will have deep knowledge of the multiverse. He's also expected to be a more experienced hero, perhaps even smarter than the variant we briefly saw in Multiverse of Madness. Let's hope that's the case. Now, let's talk about Dr. Doom. Victor Von Doom is not only a master sorcerer, but also one of the most iconic villains in Marvel history, constantly clashing with Reed Richards. This time, he'll reportedly be played by Robert Downey Jr., a casting decision that has everyone talking. What's even more interesting is that leaks and rumors have revealed more about Doom than about Reed. But hold up. Don't get ahead of yourselves. If this Doom is as intelligent as we're hearing, his quest for cosmic power could involve manipulating time and space itself. The big question is whether his motivations will live up to the hype. All signs point to Galactus being the primary villain, along with a female version of the Silver Surfer. But fans are hoping for an epic battle between Reed and Doom. If that happens, my money's on Doom to win. Why? Because this Doom might just take the fight to the multiverse, setting up Avengers Doomsday. Their battle could feature incredible tech, epic energy blasts, and mind-blowing gadgets. But honestly, nothing so far suggests that Reed could beat this version of Doom. This showdown is shaping up to be unforgettable. Don't forget, watch my video of the new Silver Surfer. You don't believe it. Guys, we finally have the first trailer for The Last of Us Season 2. And trust me, this is big. There's still some mystery about whether they'll split the season into 2 parts. But one thing's for sure. April is going to hit us hard with what looks like an epic new chapter. The trailer kicks off with the event that changed everything in the story: Abby at the Firefly Hospital. Then we get a time skip, and for me, the best part of this trailer is how much love they've poured into recreating scenes straight from the game. It's a love letter to the franchise's most nostalgic fans. Honestly, it promises a ton of fan service, and while some people might roll their eyes at that, I think it's going to make the premiere super enjoyable. Another standout aspect is the budget. The production value looks noticeably higher, especially in the special effects. The show has always had top-tier quality, but now they're doubling down with massive infected hordes chasing Abby and Ellie. What's interesting is that it's not just about action-packed sequences. The trailer also hints at the same dramatic weight we loved in Season 1. From what we've seen so far, this season looks like a massive win for HBO. And, of course, there's Joel's heartbreaking expression, a subtle reminder of his fate in the story. The only thing that could hurt this series is its own weight and the controversies surrounding the second game. The game's format allowed for gameplay, exploration, and violence to balance things out. But here, everything rests solely on the story's shoulders. So, what do you think? Does this season's clear love for the game make up for the controversial parts of the continuation? Do you believe this will be the final chapter? Or will HBO stretch the ending into 2 parts to keep the hype alive? We'll find out in April. In the meantime, check out this other video about the Geek world, and I'll see you next time. Breaking news about The Batman Part 2. Why the delay? Will filming start this year? And is a second season of The Penguin on the way? Director Matt Reeves finally spills the details in an exclusive interview. Stick around to find out everything. Hey guys, we've got exciting updates about The Batman Part 2. With all the buzz around the Golden Globes, director Matt Reeves sat down with The Hollywood Reporter to discuss the delay Batman Part 2 and even teased a potential second season for The Penguin. Will filming start this year? We're still finishing the script, and there's a lot going on. This year is mainly about getting production rolling and kickstarting the movie. Why was the film delayed? A lot has happened in my life over the past year or so. Will The Penguin get a second season? We're discussing another season. It's about finding the right idea, the timing, and figuring out how to tie it into The Batman Part 2. But we're really excited. Let's break it down. First off, Reeves has always faced challenges with the script for The Batman. Even for the first movie, it took a long time to finalize, but the result was a massive success. This time, he's being more open, sharing that personal issues have played a role in the delay. It's a rare bit of honesty that gives us a clearer picture of why things are taking so long. Now, about The Penguin. Colin Farrell just won a Golden Globe for his incredible performance as Oswald Cobblepot, and Reeves hinted that if a second season happens, it would likely air before The Batman Part 2. If production for the movie begins this year, we could expect it to release around 2027. That leaves room for the Penguin Season 2 to drop in 2026, or possibly after the Batman Part 2. However, that seems less likely, as sidelining Batman again wouldn't make much sense for fans. What are your theories? Drop them in the comments. The best part is that the Batman Part 2 is officially moving forward this year. Are you excited for Robert Pattinson's return as the Dark Knight? Also, check out my video about the potential casting for James Gunn's DCU Batman. Do you think having two Batmen on the big screen at the same time is doable? Let me know below. What's up, guys? We've got huge early details about Black Panther 3. But remember, these are just early-stage rumors, so don't take anything as final yet. Let's dive in. Denzel Washington is rumored to play Storm's father from the X-Men. His character will reportedly seek a cure for Storm's mutation, leading him to Wakanda. The movie is set to take place many years after Black Panther 2. T'Challa's son will form an emotional bond with Storm. Both will be teenagers. T'Challa's son is expected to take up the mantle of Black Panther. Shuri and Namor are also set to return to their roles. This sounds epic already, doesn't it? Based on Marvel's timeline, this could be one of the first movies after Secret Wars. If it comes before the Avengers films, it'd be smart to start weaving in more mutant connections into the MCU, but if it's after, it makes sense since Marvel already hinted that mutants would take center stage post-Secret Wars. And let's talk about the big name here, Denzel Washington. It's practically confirmed. Denzel himself teased it during the Gladiator 2 premiere, saying this might be his final role before retiring. Sure, some fans might expect him to play someone more tied to Wakanda's royalty, but come on, he's Denzel. Whatever role he takes, he's going to crush it. Biggest bombshell though, Storm. Finally, we'll see her in live action. We've had glimpses in What If and the upcoming X-Men '97, but this casting news is next level. In the comics, Storm even became Queen of Wakanda at one point. In this film, it looks like her story will involve a connection with T'Challa's son. Could this mean Storm's destiny ties her to Wakanda once again? Or maybe, will we hear about Charles Xavier's school? And what about Shuri? If she's not Black Panther anymore, what's her role in all this? Plus, the return of Namor. What does that mean? Will he be a villain again? Could he face off against Storm? Honestly, even with so little info, this movie already feels packed with potential. What do you guys think? Does this lineup sound exciting or what? Let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to check out my video on the latest Marvel news we're getting in January. See you next time. What's up, everyone? We just got our first look at the new Batman in the DCU. And yeah, it's just a silhouette. A single second, maybe even just a frame of animation. But believe it or not, I'm about to break it all down in a 3-minute deep dive. Let's get into it. The first thing we can notice about James Gunn's vision for Batman, or at least how he's imagined here, is that he's going to be big. Like, really bulky. It instantly reminds me of the animated Dark Knight Returns movies, Bruce Timm's iconic designs, or, dare I say it, Ben Affleck's Batman. And before anyone starts arguing, yes, this pretty much rules out Robert Pattinson's Batman. Honestly, that was one of the issues with the old DCU. They didn't leave enough room for fans to theorize or dream. Case in point, my video about Pattinson possibly being the DCU Batman was only relevant for, what, 4 or 5 days? That speculation window closed fast. That said, this silhouette does open up new doors for fan theories. For instance, the bulky frame has people talking about Alan Ritchson as a potential frontrunner for Gunn's Batman. Ritchson has been vocal about wanting to play the role, and honestly, this feels like his best shot yet. Another small detail we can pick up is the bat belt. It's massive and unmistakable, wrapping around his waist. This design choice leans into the classic, comic-inspired look, or even the animated series aesthetic, which has ironically become a meme over the years. The question now is, can Gunn make this classic look feel serious and fresh again? Finally, let's talk about James Gunn's recent comments, which are bound to get DC fans hyped. Here's what he said, and I quote, 1. Just like when we leave the Superman movie, we see that Superman already exists. The people of Metropolis know him. We don't need to hear the origin story again. 2. Batman already exists in this universe. He's an important part of it, and has an impact on it. 3. When I was shown the episode for the first time, there was much more Batman, and I said, I'm not ready to commit to that. More silhouette. And 4. We're going to do amazing things with Batman. He's the most popular superhero in the world. I can't wait for people to see more of him, with Superman and together. This tells us two big things. First, Gunn is intentionally holding back on revealing too much about Batman, even though the Creature Commandos episode initially had more of him. Second, we can expect a significant Batman and Superman project down the line. If everything goes well, we're about to witness the start of something huge for the DCU. Those are my thoughts on Batman and the hints we've seen so far. If you're curious about my take on Creature Commandos, stay tuned for that in my next video. See you all next time. Is Kraven the Hunter really as bad as everyone says? Will Sony's Spider-Verse continue? Or is it doomed? The rumors have been wild. First they said it was cancelled, now they claim it's moving forward but focusing on Spider-Man. Oh, and here's the kicker. Spider-Man Beyond the Spider-Verse officially isn't coming out next year. What's going on? Let's dive into the chaos and see where this all leads. The good. All right, let me just say this up front. I was surprisingly entertained by Kraven the Hunter. For me, it's not as bad as I expected. And honestly, I enjoyed it more than Venom 3. In fact, I'd call it the most fun movie Sony's Spider-Verse has delivered so far. Now, does that mean it's a good movie? Absolutely not. But I liked it, and that's enough for me to call it a guilty pleasure. It's packed with action, moves at a breakneck pace, and keeps you from feeling bored. Sure, Rhino's motivations are pretty weak. He just wants to be the baddest gangster. But his transformation? It's not amazing, but it's how I always imagined him in live action. Fight scenes are solid, the CGI holds up well, and there are tons of Spider-Man references scattered throughout the movie. The Daily Bugle pops up, and we learn that Kraven's biggest fear is spiders. A bit meh, but okay. There are Easter eggs galore, even though they clearly lead nowhere. The bad now, let's talk about the not-so-great stuff, because I could tear this movie apart in this section if I wanted to. First off, Kraven climbing buildings like Spider-Man was just no. And the twist of turning Kraven into a pacifist before making him the hunter, we know? Weird choice. Let's not forget the animal lover angle. He's supposed to feel this deep connection to a lion, but then he puts on his father's iconic fur jacket. Yeah, the same father he hated and never wanted to be like. The inconsistencies and crazy choices like that are everywhere. Then there's Calypso, who conveniently gives Kraven a magical potion to level him up. Super convenient, right? The whole plot is riddled with moments like this. But, to be fair, I did enjoy the introduction of Chameleon. They nailed his comic-accurate look, and tying him to Kraven as his brother? Genius. And Calypso herself. She's a voodoo priestess who uses magical potions and has been Kraven's occasional lover in the comics. That was a nice touch, even if the execution wasn't perfect. However, die-hard comic fans and critics are going to hate this movie. Kraven is basically a Punisher knockoff here, completely reimagined. So, who's this movie for? It's for casual viewers, the kind who enjoy Transformers or Fast and Furious. If you just want to turn off your brain and have a good time, this movie works. My personal rating? A guilty pleasure 8 out of 10. Officially, though, as a movie, it's a 6 out of 10 at best. It's clear Sony doesn't care about the lore of these characters anymore, but hey, I had fun. Unfortunately, the box office says otherwise. With an opening weekend of just $11 million, it's safe to say this movie is tanking. Could this be the end of Sony's Spider-Verse? Will they sell Spider-Man's rights back to Marvel? We'll find out soon enough. Speaking of Spider-Man, check out my thoughts on why I think Tom Holland is the worst Spider-Man yet. The grand beginning of DC. The first question is, was it a good idea to start DC's new era with this series? My honest answer is no. And this isn't about whether the show is bad or not. It's about whether it makes sense to start here. The series is launching on a platform that millions of people don't even have access to. That means tons of viewers who will go see Superman won't even know this show exists, even though it's technically part of the new DC universe. To be real, most of them won't care either. So, call it what you want, but the true beginning of James Gunn's DCU is Superman. The bad one of my biggest worries about this show was that it might feel like a cheap knockoff of the Suicide Squad. And guess what? It is. Unfortunately, Creature Commandos fails to set itself apart from James Gunn's previous projects. The premise? Amanda Waller's daughter leaked details about Task Force X, so now they use monsters instead of humans. The problem is, in Suicide Squad, there was a clear reason why the team came together. Here, they don't even bother explaining it. The DCU canon is a total mess right now. The Suicide Squad and Peacemaker are canon, but everything else isn't? It feels like Gunn's just saying, "These are my projects, so they're canon because I'm in charge." It's confusing when you think about it from a storytelling perspective, but I guess that's just how it works in real life. The good. If you're a fan of James Gunn's style, this show is tailor-made for you. It's packed with violence, quirky characters, hilarious situations, and surprisingly deep backstories that add layers to the cast. It's classic Gunn, no doubt about it. For me, starting the DCU with this series was a misstep. It would have made way more sense to release it after Superman Legacy. Imagine seeing a trailer in theaters. HBO Max continues the DCU with Creature Commandos, an adults-only series. That would have hit differently, letting people decide if they're interested in it. Like with Ms. Marvel or Moon Knight. That said, the show is entertaining. I'd give it a 7 out of 10, fun, but not very original. After seeing this formula repeated in 4 similar projects, it's starting to wear thin for me. What do you think? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you're curious about the last bits of the old DC era, check out my thoughts on the finale of Superman and Lois over here. Get ready to dive into one of the most fascinating characters in Creature Commandos. The